Okay, so too many people get married because it's time. It's time to get married. They've been dating long enough, and it's just simply the time. It's arbitrary, really, right? It's just time to do it, right? Or
Time to have a family.
they want
They
kids.
want kids, right? Oh, well, we've been together for a certain amount of time. I guess we should get married, right?
I guess we should
So today we're talking about the one,
have.
finding the one. How do you know
Yes.
you're with the one? Where is the one, right?
How can you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is the person you're supposed to share your life with, right? How do you know that your love will last a lifetime?
Hmm.
How do you know? Because what we talked about here in the very, we just began, I know, but it's like this whole idea of it's time to get married. It's arbitrary. What do you mean it's
Yeah.
time? Like, it's like, oh, I remember I had a friend years ago and he's like, she's been really good about it. She's never brought it up. So, after all this time, I figured it was time. I was like, what? Like a
No
proposal was
declarations of love or a desire to spend the rest of your life with this person. Just
just, she's
they've
been
earned
good.
it.
She's earned it.
She earned the proposal. She was a good girl,
It was very
right?
odd.
We
So,
we also hear another side of the equation, right? The other side of the equation is I don't know. I've been with this person, and we break up and get back together, and I just don't know. I don't know. How do I know?
really, what we want to talk about is none of these strategies really work for lasting love
Mm-hmm.
because everything that we teach is all about identifying a soulmate relationship. And so, your soulmate is that one that gets you and that sticks by you no matter what. And you can count on that person as sure as the sun will rise tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, imagine what it would be like. Hmm.
There you are. You're with this person who gets you, who seems to understand you, right? Who seems to be on the same page with you, who wants the same things you want out of life, and
Yeah.
and this is really important, who you can navigate conflict with, right? You can have a disagreement, and you can figure out how to reconnect and repair and all that good stuff.
The thing is I think most people struggle with this how do I know thing is because on some level we've kind of been taught to settle or like it's just supposed to be a lightning bolt answer.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked to a lot of people who never had the lightning bolt. We've talked to a lot of
Yeah.
people who have never been married. They're in their 50s, 60s, and even 70s. They say, I don't know if I've ever been in love. I don't know if I've ever been in love. And there's a part of my heart that goes, oof, right? How do you, to not ever have that like consuming feeling of falling in love with somebody. And then on the other hand, I go, no, maybe that's a good thing, right? Because now they haven't had as much of the heartache maybe
Yeah.
on another level. Or another thing that people do is they think there's some kind of love meter, right? We talked to
Yeah.
somebody recently who was saying, well, I always end up in a relationship with somebody who loves me more than I love them. So I kind of have the upper hand. And I was like, it sounded like some weird kind of negotiation instead of a romantic
Exactly.
relationship, right? It sounded like a
Exactly.
business arrangement.
It's a way to be
I
in control, right?
yeah, it's a control thing. So, hello everybody. I'm Orna
And
Walters,
I'm Matthew Walters.
and this is Love Intervention.
We are here to intervene in your love tragedies, your love dramas, your love mistakes, right? Set you on a path to that long lasting, soul satisfying love that you desire.
It doesn't have to be that dramatic. We could just help you out if you're just struggling finding someone to date, or you just, maybe you're one of these people. Should I stay? Do I go? I don't know. Maybe you're in that I don't know bubble. So that's what we're talking about today. How do you find the one? How do you know? How do you know you have found the one? I remember on our wedding day,
Yeah.
we got married at the Self Realization Fellowship. That's our spiritual center. We got married at their Lake Shrine Temple. And the woman who's in charge, remember Babette?
Uh huh.
And so we dealt with her through the whole thing. We were
Yeah.
engaged for
Babette
like a
was
year and
great.
a half, so it was a very long engagement. It felt like, and I remember on our wedding day when she came and found me, where I was sort of not hiding, but you don't want the bride out there. You make your the presentation right. The bride is presented after everybody's arrived. So I'm in this little area, courtyard area, with my wedding party, my ladies, and I remember Babette looks at me and she says, I've been doing this for decades, Orna. You're the most calm bride I've ever seen.
Hmm.
And I thought, really? Like, we're at our spiritual center. I would
Right.
like to think
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that are calm and getting married. And I said, oh, well, I don't know. I don't have anything to worry about. Like, I know I'm here. I know Matthew's here. I know the paperwork is here. And I knew that the person who was officiating the wedding was present. And I figured, well, that's all I need. So Matthew's there, I'm there. Like we'd all made it to the location and we had the right paperwork to, make it official. That's all I needed. So I was like, I'm good. I don't care about anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you get to that place to where you feel that comfortable, that confident in your decision? I mean, so many people that we've talked to have had the opposite experience of the ones that we talked about, where they have had that feeling and they go, this is it. This is the one, right? And it's like really intense and it's great and it's exciting. And
then it wasn't.
And then it wasn't, right? It didn't work.
I had that.
You had that.
Yeah,
right.
I had it in a big, big way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me years to know what the hell do I do after, what, like,
right.
Because I thought I knew. I mean, I think the saying, the little phrase, the little colloquialism that we have around picking a partner that I hate the most, I think is, well, when you know, you know.
But it's ironic though, because
I thought I knew.
Well, yeah.
I thought I knew.
Yeah.
I think it was probably the worst decision I ever made in my life.
Mm.
But everything happens for a reason. And so we're here today to really help you not hit a dead end, right? Not to really look at your love life the way you would craft a career, right? How do you really step into the place of having a plan of action? Because from the moment we pop out of the womb, we're all sold this ridiculous myth that lasting love will just magically happen one day. It's just magically going to happen.
Just magically going to happen.
Yeah, when you meet this mythical, magical unicorn of the right person, right? So I just want to say that nobody finds lasting love by accident. Nobody. And that if you're looking for a plan of action, we're here to help.
Yeah. So I want to do a little sort of exercise experiment with everybody. I want you to think about the last time you were like, this is it. I'm in love, right? And it didn't work out or however it happened. And I want you to think about what that felt like and say...
Wait, not however it happened. You wanted to be, and it didn't work out.
Yes. Yes.
But I'm assuming if it worked out, they wouldn't be on this love intervention.
Exactly. That was, my feeling.
Great.
So think about that time and what it felt like and how did you, quote unquote, know, right? What was the feeling that you had in your body? And get in touch with that. And I want to ask you, was that feeling comfortable?
Was it grounded?
Was it easy, right? Or was it compulsive or exciting or obsessive or off balancing?
Exciting.
Yeah.
Exciting doesn't belong on the list.
Okay. Overexciting.
I think obsessive is, if it consumes you, right? I think for a lot of people, that feeling of falling in love, right? That sensation, that chemical high feels overpowering. It feels consuming. It feels compulsive. It doesn't have like, oh my God, I have to hold on to it or it's going to disappear.
It feels fleeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
Tenuous.
Yes.
Right.
Ooh, good one. Good one.
So
Tenuous.
I partly want you to think about that feeling and go, is that what you really think you're looking for? This sort of tenuous, obsessive, fleeting feeling, right? This butterflies that feels like the energy's up here. It's not down here, right? It's not grounded down in the body.
I mean, I would love it if anybody wants to answer us, anybody that's sharing live, describe to us the body sensation that you feel when you recognize that sensation of falling in love with somebody. We keep making air quotes because we don't like this happenstance falling, right? Like, you slipped on a banana peel and you landed on someone, because really what we were talking about today is how do you know you found the one? Hi, everybody. I'm Orna Walters.
And I'm Matthew Walters.
We're doing our introduction all over again. For those of you joining us maybe a little late, this is Love Intervention.
We are here to intervene in your love life, right? We're going to get you off the wrong course and onto the right course towards that path to long-lasting, soul-satisfying love.
That's right. We want you to really understand that you can craft a course towards long-lasting love. And this idea is certainly not new. We've been at it for quite some time ourselves. But I think that most people give us like a little push, like a little resistance when they think that it's possible to sort of craft your true soul partnership. And I think the biggest mistake that people make is they get attached to a person before they get clear on a vision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So really, when we're working with a client, for example, at some point we really craft their true soul partnership. I mean, I got to tell you, our relationship, we stamp it for professionals only. Please do not try this at home. We spend an exorbitant amount of time together and we love it. But it's not for everybody.
Right.
You should not spend, most people that are going to be married don't necessarily have to work together and spend an exorbitant amount of time together like we do. And I know
that's what we wanted. That's what we
Yeah.
chose, right? That was
but we chose that
a
as
value
individuals.
that both of us had individually. And when we came together, we shared it. Right?
Yeah.
I remember once we were speaking at an event, right? We were talking about love on purpose and really our mission, right? This whole idea. And somebody came up to us afterwards and goes, but isn't it more romantic when it just happens, right? And I think there's this idea that people get attached to, right? That love is different from everything else, right? It's different from, becoming healthy. It's different from finding the right career. It's different from any other goal you have in life. And what we want to say is it's not.
It really
It's
isn't.
not. Now, the steps you take towards creating it are very different than the steps you would take towards, say, getting healthier, finding the right career, and advancing in your profession, all of those things, right? The steps are very different because they're more. I mean, they are very emotional based. They're not all logical. We're not saying that love is something that's transactional, right? If I come up with the list of things and I logically evaluate each person based on that list, well, there's 3 things here on the list you're good on, but the 2 others, you're not. So I'm sorry. Even though we have this great chemistry and great sex, those 2 things are a deal breaker.
Don't look at me when you say that. I don't like that.
Sorry. You were my hypothetical person, not the actual Orna.
I know, but
A
don't,
hypothetical
put it out
other
there, dude.
person.
I don't know. I'm good with you. If you got a problem, we should talk about it off camera. I mean, look, here's the thing. I think I'm like an expert on heartbreak just because I had my heart broken so many times. I can only think of one time in all of my relationships where I initiated the breakup and all the other breakups, and there's dozens of them. I was not the initiator. And I was really confused because the things that guys really said they liked about me at the beginning of dating me were the same things they said when they were running out the door, kind of, or I often felt like nobody stuck with me through the bumps that came along.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that took me a long time to kind of relax and believe Matthew that he was going to stick around. I remember one time we were having an argument. It was early on.
Yeah.
I don't know. We didn't know we were going to do this work together. We would have taken better notes if we had known, if we'd had a crystal ball. So I don't remember what the disagreement was about. And I don't know what my face was doing, but like mid-argument, I remember I must have just panicked. And Matthew just goes, oh, we're just having a disagreement. We're going to work this out. I'm not going anywhere. And I was like, are you sure? Are you really sure? You're gonna stay?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna stay. And I also remember there was another time. I'm sure
I don't
you
know
remember.
which one you're going at this
I know,
time.
but you looked at me and you said, "This is when I would normally leave,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm not going anywhere."
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's really, I can hear all the ladies listening now went, oh, right. It's like, I think that women want somebody that they know they can count on because it's like, even though we don't need a man to provide for us in a traditional sense, right? We don't need a man to, we can own property and we can have credit cards and we get to vote, at least for now here in the United States of America. Who knows what the future holds? But the reality is we don't need somebody. And I oftentimes talk with people who, they have a problem when they get on the phone, but then they don't really have the problem once we start digging in. They don't want to look at it. And they're like, well, I'm fine. I don't need a man. And I always I think it's ironic because needing a man doesn't mean you don't want to share your life with somebody. I was very clear that I was really good on my own. I really was. I had a great career. I loved my life. I had some great friends. I loved to do things. I had certain hobbies, and I really loved my life.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that was missing was that one special person. And I really just kept thinking, I know I'm supposed to share my life with somebody. Like, I made the decision. Because for a long time I didn't think I wanted to, I didn't think anybody would ever marry me for most of my life. I never thought anybody would marry me. So I never was thinking about that. I was never dreaming about a wedding day.
Right. It's interesting how we have a similar but different version of that, because I never thought I was somebody who would get married. Right. I was like, I'm not good at that. Right. You don't.
Yeah.
That's not
I'm
something.
not good. I think we share that.
It's not something I'm.
Yeah, we both share the I'm not good at that. Let's steer around and
I
do
think
other
we'll just
things.
of those short-term relationships, and that'll be good. But something changed for me. I mean, something changed inside, which I went, you know what? I think and it changed on my journey. This is what I want you to get, right? It didn't change, and then I started taking action. I started taking actions, and then it changed, right? And what those actions were about me becoming happier. I'm just going to say it that way, me becoming happier, right? Happier with myself, happier with life, really letting go of a lot of my self-criticism, really letting go of a lot of my judgment of the world around me, right? And once I started sort of doing the work of, start taking responsibility for how I thought and how I felt in the world and who I was being in the world, 20 years sober this fall, so that's a big part of that, right? So all of that stuff that I was thinking about, right, really got me on a path to start to go, well, now that I'm feeling happier, now that I'm liking myself and liking my life a little bit, I actually think maybe I could do this relationship thing. Maybe I could figure that out.
Yeah, but I want to share, and we are going to take your questions, by the way. That's the whole idea of tonight. It's an Ask Us Anything, an AMA, Ask Me Anything, Ask Us Anything. So please go ahead and type your questions up, and we'll get around to answering them. But I really want all the ladies that are looking for how do you know a man, was interested in you kind of thing, and you're not sure. Men are not subtle. I mean, Matthew kind of went there, but I do know his story, so I'm going to really nail it. When he decided he wanted a wife, right? When he decided he wanted a relationship, he then went to look for the woman. He didn't suddenly meet some woman and then he went, I think I want to maybe get married someday.
Right.
It was the other way around.
It's the other way around. I decided I was ready to get married and really wanted that. And then I went looking for it. It didn't, it's exactly how it happened.
So he was like, in a sense, out like hunting for me. I didn't know. I mean, I don't think he knew he was looking for me specifically. We were in a lot of the same sort of circles for a while before we even talked to each other. So it didn't pop until it did. But I want you to really understand, because I think a lot of times women think, I'll make him, choose me kind of thing.
Right.
I'll even convince him I'm the one.
You'll even see a lot of these videos on YouTube, right? How do you get a man to fill in the blank?
Whatever, yeah.
Right. How do you get him to?
Or how do you get him back?
How do you get the ring? Right.
How
do you get him back? All these ideas that you are in some way, meaning the woman, are in some way responsible for getting the man to behave differently, so that he can suddenly realize, oh my God, I think I do want a relationship. Right? That's just setting yourself up for a lot of hard work.
You have no control over another person. So how do you know? We're going to sum this up and then we'll start answering questions.
Sounds good.
Right? How do you know you found the one? So what if you were with that person, and that person doesn't have to have a face. Mm-hmm. Don't picture don't select somebody. Don't pick a face. Just listen to your body as we talk for a moment. What would it feel like in your body? Imagine the feeling in your body to go to bed next to somebody that really got you, that loved you, and you wake up next to that person and you share your life with this person who you knew you could count on, who you were crazy about, and they were crazy about you. And you had the day in and day out and the mundane things of, sometimes fighting over, who got the leftover last piece of whatever delicious thing or chocolate, or who cleans who empties the dishwasher, who fills the dishwasher, or whatever, right?
Right.
I mean, you're going to have
how
those
they fill the dishwasher.
Yeah, exactly. All that stuff, right? But I mean, how would it feel to really share your life with somebody that really just gets you? And that day after day you choose each other and you know, when things go south, you fix it. What would that feel like? Oh, how would you breathe differently? Would you walk down the street differently? How would your life be different? How would it be enriched if you knew you were with somebody who was going to be with you no matter what?
All right. So let's get into our questions.
All right.
We're going to start right here. And Gina jumped in early before we even started, so we're going to start with her. She says, what if you are not a quote unquote successful woman, like we always hear about? What if you have a history of struggling? Seems like feminism has made it requisite for women to be as strong as men or be successful.
I think, Gina, what, you know, I want to really have you understand it in a different way. One of the reasons why you hear so many like dating coaches asking like, hey, successful woman, you want to know how to get a man? Is because a woman in business, right, are asking women to be, quote, act like men in the workplace. And women forgot that a man at home wants a woman to be like a woman. And what I mean by that is like I still like at the end of the workday, I have a ritual to sort of put work aside and transition into just being me. Like to not have my thinking cap on and to not and to be more receptive, to really sort of leave some space for downtime, for to just let things sort of happen instead of driving things to happen. Because I think in a career choice, women are taught very much to behave like men. And yet, if you look at women run businesses, they are actually very successful because female, like CEOs, for example, are much more open to feedback than male CEOs. And so they are more willing to ask for help and support. And when you're running a business, you do need help. But on your way up the ladder to being that CEO, we kind of act like men in the sense that we are making stuff happen. So I don't think feminism is the problem. And we definitely believe women are equal in the workplace. And we believe women are equal at home because there aren't tasks that are feminine or tasks that are masculine, right? Like making dinner is not feminine. Doing the laundry is not feminine. Or working on the car is not masculine. But there's an energetic dance of the masculine and feminine that happens in a romantic relationship that I think people have lost sight of. And I think you're intuitively have an understanding that something is amiss, but you don't have the languaging for it. So I'm making a leap, Gina, but I think you're on to something. And now I'm going to be quiet and let Matthew talk because I know he's got something great to say.
Yeah, I want to take this from a different angle because what I sort of hear, sort of the subtext of this question is that you don't feel like you're successful, right? So in some way you feel like maybe you're not worthy of love because the message you're getting and the marketing that you're seeing is people looking for successful women who are struggling to find love. And you go, well, I'm struggling and I'm also not quote unquote this successful woman, so I must be left out, right? And what we know is that love doesn't care, right? Love doesn't care if you're beautiful. It doesn't care if you're thin. It doesn't care if you're overweight. It doesn't care if you're successful, if you're struggling in your life. Love is available to everyone, right?
Love doesn't care how much money you have in the bank. Love doesn't
care. And the guy you're looking for may or may not care, right? Ultimately, your soulmate doesn't care whether you've been successful or not, right? So the question becomes, how can you let go of your own feelings of limitation around this, right? And learn that you are valuable, you are worth loving, whether you're quote unquote successful by whoever standard, right, that you're seeing or not seeing, right? Whatever the standards are, right? That your success has nothing to do with whether or not love is available to you. They're not even the same thing. I think the reason you see a lot of that marketing towards successful women is because, like Orna was saying, a lot of successful women are very much in their masculine. And so they're struggling in their relationships because they're trying to be the man. And they end up dating guys who are not in their masculine. They date guys who are in their feminine. They keep going, When's he going to step up? When's he going to be the man? When's he going to, behave in the way that I need him to behave? Because he doesn't seem to do that. I seem to be doing all the work.
Yeah,
Right? Just like they do in their careers.
Right. They're pursuing the men. And then at some point, it's usually somewhere between 3 to 6 months in, they're like, hey, aren't you going to claim me? Aren't you going to pursue me? Aren't you going to, now they want to switch the dynamic. It's like they've been they've been the one, the pursuer. And suddenly they want to switch it and they want to go, hey, dude, I've been dating you for a while. Where's this going? Right. That's somebody who's trying to switch the dynamic instead of switching their strategy. And I think that's what we're trying to tell you is this idea is not for you in the sense of you have to be successful in your career choice in order to have a great love relationship. Who cares? Right? There is nothing about that. So instead of looking at what you're being sold,
right,
we would say the only thing you have to look at is what's in the mirror, in a sense. And I don't mean what you look like. I mean, what is really going on with you? Like, have you crafted the vision of your true soul partnership? Because that's where you want to begin.
Have you done the work of looking at your own, patterns around love and dating and relationship, and maybe done some introspection about why those haven't been quote unquote successful?
Yes.
Right. Because that's really what we're talking about. Right. When I decided, I got to be happy and I'm going to start looking for a partner, it's not like I was, I did it because I had a certain amount of money in the bank. Yeah. Right. It's not like I made that decision because I was at a place in my career where I was like, I got the career figured out. Now I got to go get the woman. Right.
A lot of men do
that, but that wasn't where I was.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not necessarily a reason or a part of it. So it's really about, like I said, looking in the mirror and going, okay, so who am I being? How am I showing up? Right? Am I showing up and I'm just going to call it out. Am I showing up in a victim mindset because I don't feel good about myself? Right? Because I feel like I've been struggling in my life. Or am I empowered? Am I in charge? Am I really confident in who I am?
Because I think a lot of times women abdicate their power in the dating process.
Yeah.
Like, oh, won't somebody pick me? Like you're picking teams on a softball game or something, right? There's 2 captains and everybody's picking and you were picked last. And you're like, I don't want to be picked last again, right? So the whole idea of how are you showing up is how do you feel about yourself, right? And so the place to start isn't to look at what you're being told. It's to look at what's going on. What's your inner dialogue? Mm-hmm. What are you saying to yourself about yourself through the dating process? It's going to give you a lot more information about what's going on with you and why you have or haven't been successful to meet somebody who is a good match for you, right? So that's really where you want to begin.
I want to jump in here and say this is Love Intervention.
Yes, it is. We're here to intervene in your love life so that we can put you on the path to long-lasting, soul-satisfying love. I am Orna Walters.
I'm Matthew Walters.
And if you're catching us on Facebook, please give us a like, a comment, tag your friends, maybe share. We are taking questions there on our Facebook page, and they'll be ported over here by our lovely team. Thank you, Isa. We love our team members. We couldn't do it without them. If you're watching this on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up. Click the bell. You'll be notified the next time we do a live. And we're going to take your questions. I just want to circle back. We asked, what would it feel like? Right. And I love Maria's answer because that was mine. She put my answer. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Maria says it would feel like coming home. Would feel like coming home. There's a really, what's that song? I always cry when it plays. It was like the first song we played at our wedding reception.
It's in my head. I don't know the artist though. Feels like home to me.
Yeah, it feels like home to me. Yeah, and she kind of has a scratchy voice. That singer, I can't think of her name right now, but I was like, if I could sing, I would sing like that. So yeah, feel like coming home. Thanks for that, Maria. I really appreciate that. I'm going to take a question from a dude here. I'm going to pick this one. Jeffrey asks. He says, I have a friend that I want to go out with. And when I've brought it up in the past, she says she just likes me as a friend. And I haven't brought it up in several years. We spend most weekends together and I see her a lot. We talk or text just about every day. So for me, it feels like we're dating without the affection, without any affection. Do you think I should bring it up again? If yes, how do I do that?
Yeah. So you're in an interesting sort of quandary
the
here,
friend
Jeffrey.
zone.
You're in the friend zone, right? And the thing is, most people, I won't say most people, there are a lot of people out there who are comfortable getting emotional intimacy from somebody that they like and feel confident with, but they're not attracted to, right? And it happens on both ends. We've seen men do this as well, right? And men, oftentimes it'll show up with men who, like, early on, they're very open, they're very vulnerable, they're sharing with you
Yeah.
about, what they want and what they like, and they're sharing all their emotional stuff with you, right? And yet they're not quite available for a relationship, right? And it sounds like this woman is like the female version of that, right? She likes the emotional intimacy that she has with you, the friendship, right? To use that word. But she's not reciprocating the other part. So my question for you is, Jeffrey, is have you stepped up, right? Have you stepped up to let her know how you feel? Have you stepped up to let her know what you want? Have you tried in any way to claim her and say, look, you're it for me, or you're maybe not it, right? Maybe you're not there yet, right? But I like you, and I want to see where this is going, and I want that, right?
He said he brought it up in the past, but it's been several years. She said she just
Yeah.
liked him as a friend. So here's the thing. You've spent years keeping your heart tied to somebody who told you, and I think this is more important.
Yeah, listen to her, not
You
me.
have spent your several years of your life with your heart literally bound and tied, chained to somebody who told you point blank, she just likes you as a friend. And so my response to you, Jeffrey, is why are you torturing yourself? Why have you spent years torturing yourself? Why are you spending weekends with this person who isn't capable, ding, 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 ding,
Yeah.
keyword for the day, isn't capable of giving you what it is you need? So we started today with a theme, and I knew we'd circle back to it. So I kind of left it open-ended, right? How do you know you found the one? Well, you know you've found the one not from a feeling state, because your feelings are always changing, right? Your feelings don't last. There isn't one feeling in the world that lasts. I mean, when we are blissfully happy, right? Unless you have a mental disorder, you know that happiness isn't going to last. That bliss isn't going to last. You just enjoy the heck out of it, right? But when we feel badly, our ego mind lies to us, and we feel like we will feel badly forever. We think, oh my God, I'm always going to feel this terribly, right? You won't. And neither is true. You won't feel forever blissful, and you won't feel forever miserable. So know that your feelings don't last. So how do you pick a life partner? How do you choose somebody to share your life with if it's not based on a feeling state? So the truth is, you have to have the chemistry, but it's not like the feelings have to be there, but it's one ingredient in a recipe. The bigger recipe is through the dating process to evaluate the other person's capacity. And the capacity you're evaluating is, can this other person meet your needs most of the time? Now, nobody's been able to meet your needs 365, 24/7. And you may have to know what your needs are and ask for your needs to be met, right? And so, but most people don't ever figure out what do they need versus what they want, right? Most people are told, like make some kind of magical wish list, and they keep wanting to like plug the loopholes, right? They're trying to like make this long list. I want him to be this and this tall and drive this car. And it's always like the weirdest things, because it's nothing that your heart ever cares about. Like we said earlier, your heart doesn't care how much money somebody has in the bank. But can you evaluate through the dating process someone's capacity to meet what you need, to honor what you need, that when you make a request, they can deliver it? I think it's sexy as hell when I ask my husband for something and he delivers exactly what I want. He delivers exactly what I want. It's like, oh my gosh, it certainly hasn't worn off, in almost 2 decades, it hasn't worn off. It just hasn't. So I just want to say, Jeffrey, stop torturing yourself.
Yeah. Move on.
Move on. Cut the cord. Cut it. Like, move on from this person. She told you already. You're her,
She not only told you in words, but she's shown you consistently in actions, right? And I
Yeah.
get that there's a part of you that didn't want to push it because you're afraid to scare her away. And you keep thinking, wow, if you just stick around long enough,
You're gonna like
she
wear her
just
down.
might, she just might come around, right? But that's
Yeah.
not the way it works,
It
right? That's
doesn't.
not really not the way it works.
Yeah.
This person has shown you how she feels about you, and she likes you, but quote unquote not in that way, right? And so
It's not going to suddenly show up.
it's
If it
not
hasn't
suddenly going to
shown
change.
up all these years
we,
in,
we always say it this way: hope is the first thing that enters a relationship, and it's the last thing that leaves. And you've been holding on to this hope that things are going to be different. And we're going to end it by saying this: kill the hope.
and
Right?
I know that sounds terrible, and please don't kill the messenger because it comes from love. Like we
Mhm.
really want to tell you this is the tough love talk of kill the hope that this woman is ever going to see you as anything more than a friend. Cut her loose. And I'm not saying you can't ever be friends, but ask yourself this: if you were with your beloved and you were happily married to this other person, would you still want to hang out with her? Would you still want to have her over for dinner? Would you still call her and want to, go out to dinner with, you and your wife and this friend, right? And if the answer is, gosh, I don't know, I've always thought she'd be the wife, you got to just let that go.
Mhm.
Move on, because she's already told you she doesn't see you that way. And I know that it probably hurts us to say kill the hope, but just cut it off and tell her. And that would be her last opportunity to claim you if she's actually interested, and to say, oh, wait, I've been waiting for you to tell me you're still interested that way. I want to give it a try.
The thing is,
But you got to be upfront and tell her. You got to just say
Yeah.
it in whatever words are right for you. Just say, I feel really tortured all these years. I really, treasure our friendship, but I really want to share my life with somebody special. And you've told me in the past that you're not interested in me that way. And I want to go find my person. And so I need to take a break from you so that I can heal my heart and then find the person who's going to love me back. And you deserve that.
Yeah.
You deserve somebody to be madly crazy about you that would never treat you as an option and want to, get it on with you. You deserve that.
Definitely. All right. What other questions we have here?
Oh, I just want to answer Maria. She says that she cries with that song too. Feels like
Oh.
home. And Maria, you could just reach out, anybody here actually, if you want to have a private conversation with us, just send us an email. And Isa, if you can put this in the chat, the email address, support, SUPPORT at loveonpurpose.com. Hello, everybody. I am Orna Walters.
And I'm Matthew Walters. And this is Love Intervention.
And so we are taking your questions live. If you have a question on YouTube, put it in the comments. On our Facebook page, put it in the comments. Our team will port it over here. We've got some questions over here she's already brought over. We're going to go ahead and share some more answers for you. Sharon.
Actually, I wanted to go back up
Okay,
here.
sure.
So
I'll let you pick it.
Susan says, thank you. I don't trust myself to know that I'm with the right person. I simply go out with whoever asks me and I will figure it out. I figure it will work out with the right person. So far it hasn't. And I see you two are talking about being purposeful about love. What does that really mean?
Oh,
Oops.
that's a great
I
question.
can't control another person, so what am I supposed to do differently? All right.
What am I supposed to do differently? That's a good question, Susan. I like that one.
Yeah. So
Why don't you take this one first?
So you've kind of put yourself in the back seat of the car, right? We always like to say it this way. It's like in order to drive a car, you got to be sitting in the driver's seat, right? And to get into the driver's seat, you got to have that sense of awareness of who you are, what you want, what the problem is, what's in the way of you getting what you want, right? That self-awareness about what's really going on. But you're in the back seat. You're waiting for somebody else to drive the car, and you're like, "Hey, I'm here. Drive the car," and you're not going to get anywhere in the back
I feel
seat.
like you're not just in the back seat. You're in the back seat with the driver's seat empty and the windows tinted. Nobody even knows you're sitting in the car, right? You're like waiting for somebody else to drive your love life to its destination.
Yeah.
And so what we want to say is similarly to where we started, this idea of crafting the vision of the kind of relationship you want first.
Mm-hmm.
Because what the dating process is supposed to be is it's supposed to be an evaluation to see if you're looking for a person who matches the vision you've already created, right? And I don't mean how tall he is or what kind of car he drives. We already talked about this, or what color hair he has, or any
Yeah,
of that.
yeah, no, 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 no.
None of that. We're talking about what is the dynamic. When we say craft the vision of your true soul partnership, we're saying, how do you two interact, right? What's the dynamic between the two of you? How does he treat you when you're upset? What happens when the two of you have a disagreement? How does that resolve itself? Are you aware that you will have disagreements with your soulmate? It's not all going to be wine and roses
Right.
and chocolate.
But also,
Right.
it's like, what's really important to you?
What do you value?
What do you value? What do you value about relationships? We ask people this all the time when we're working with our clients, and I want to give an example, because I think sometimes, what do you value? What do we mean by that? Well, one of the big ones that comes up is communication, right? A lot of people value communication in their relationships, but do you know what that means, right?
And what motivates that communication?
And what motivates the communication? So we always say it this way in our relationship, that we can talk about anything.
Yep, nothing is off the table. Nothing's off limits.
But we don't have to talk about everything.
Now, this is key, ladies. This is really key. And I'm saying ladies because we talk a lot more than men. I mean, like science has proven, we say like, I think it's like 9 times the amount of words in one day than an average woman will say. 9 times the average words that a woman says is 9 times what an average man would say in one day. So we talk a lot more. And I don't know if you've noticed, I've been talking more than you. So I'm just gonna say that it's really important to know how you want the energetic exchange between the two of you. I said it at the beginning, right? I didn't need Matthew. I really didn't. My life was very much complete. I had a really great career in the film industry, and I really loved my life, but I didn't have that special someone. I was coming home either to an empty apartment or to my cat, which I loved greatly. I will love her forever. But I didn't have that special someone in my life. And when I decided I actually wanted a special someone, I started doing a lot of research about how you find that special someone. And for someone like me that came from not a great family and had a lot of trauma and abuse in my childhood, there just wasn't a lot of advice for me. And so I really sort of had to work outside the box. So it took me a long time to sort of figure it out for myself and cobble it together. And that's really why Matthew and I do this work together, right? Because we've created a system that really works. And it doesn't mean that you have to necessarily, have come from some stellar family where there wasn't issues. You don't have to come from, a family of abuse or anything, but I mean, the system works, and the system is different because it's not just wishing and hoping and, setting the table for 2 every night, hoping somebody else shows up to fill the space or something. That's not going to happen. I mean, I'll give you a great example for those of you that are struggling, this idea that nature abhors a vacuum and you should, I did not have 2 nightstands in my bedroom.
You didn't set the table for 2 every night?
No, I never did any of those things. And here I am with the most wonderful man, my beloved Matthew. And so, because here's the thing, if you value something you think you have to sacrifice, those kinds of things will never, quote, attract your mate, right? So a very common sort of stuckness that we see a lot is, I know I just made up stuckness, but I didn't know.
No, it's a good word.
Great. So, we see this a lot is, particularly from women, is they have a limiting belief, a false belief, that they have to give up their independence, their freedom, something that they value, that they prize. And they have this limiting belief that says they have to give that up in order to be in a relationship with a man. So they're like, I'd rather have my freedom or independence and then be with, in an intimate relationship. And they're kind of stuck because who said you have to give up your freedom and independence? It's like this idea that you're not better together is a limiting belief. Anytime you think that you're going to be less than yourself when you're in a partnership means your strategies for giving and receiving love are not a match to your own values. So I'm going to say that again. If your strategies for giving and receiving love are not a match to your own values, you are going to struggle selecting and dating and having an ideal life partner.
Wow. So I want to say one last thing, Susan. You said I can't control another person. So what am I supposed to do differently? You're absolutely right. You cannot control another person, right? And but it doesn't mean that you are passive, right? Let's say if you were looking for, you were unemployed, and you said, well, I really want a great job that fills my creativity and pays me well and all that. And you're walking around, you walk into a fast food restaurant, somebody says, hey, do you want a job? And you go, yes. Right. Next thing you know, you're washing dishes and flipping burgers, and you go, oh, this isn't working. Well, okay, I'm gonna quit this job.
I can barely pay my rent.
I can barely pay my rent. And so you leave that job, right? And then you go to the grocery store, and somebody says, well, you seem like a nice person. You want a job? And then you go, okay. Right. Next thing you know, there you are working the cashier, right? You're selling, you're running things through, and you're bagging people's groceries, and you're like, this isn't really fulfilling. I don't know why my career's not working out, right? And that's kind of what you're describing here with your love life, right? It's like you're just stumbling around, and then somebody says, hey, I like you. You go, okay. And you get in a relationship, or you start dating them. And it has nothing to do with what you want, right? So that's where you really start. Start with, what do you want? And if you don't know what you want, figure out why. Why don't you know what you want, right? What is really getting in the way? What's the story you have about love, about how limiting love is, or how love, won't work out, or whatever that is, right? What are the wounds you have about love, right? What's the limiting beliefs? What's all that stuff? And really start doing some self-exploration, and stop putting your lovability in the hands of a stranger.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Marla.
Marla,
I'm taking a different question. Oh, we're moving on to the next one. Okay. Marla says, I have a question for Orna. That's me, because I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and I'm a private person. So I'm not going to share the details, but I want to know how you moved on from that event. I feel stuck in my current situation. It's not like yours, but let's just say I've been through a lot. I'm not sure I know how to trust anyone ever again. Oh, I'm so sorry, Marla. Yeah. Thank you for sharing and being vulnerable. I really appreciate that. It's not an overnight sort of thing, but when somebody hurts you and betrays you, or whatever it is that's happened that's been difficult, that ultimately you have to find forgiveness, because it's the forgiveness that sets you free. And forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is not something you even need to bestow on that other person. Forgiveness is for you, because it sets you free. So there's a really famous Buddha quote that goes like this: holding on to anger and resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And I don't know the date on the calendar, the first time I ever heard that quote, but I know exactly where I was. I know the room I was in. I know the temperature of the room. I know who was in the room. I know what I was wearing. I know exactly the person who said it and what they were wearing. It's like solidified in my mind as a pivotal moment in time. The first time I ever heard that quote. I'm going to say it again, because it landed with me so sharply. Holding on to anger and resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And what I realized at that time when I first heard that quote is I was holding on to a lot of anger and resentment, and I was basically I was killing myself by not finding forgiveness that then sets me free. So there's a lot of great tools for forgiveness that you can find on our website at loveonpurpose.com.
Yeah.
Go to the blog section in the menu bar. You can find the blog. And in the search bar on the blog, just type in forgiveness. And you're going to find a lot of great tools so that you can free yourself and no longer be limited by those experiences of the past. A lot of people have been disappointed. It's been all over the news, and we haven't really discussed it here. And I think it's important that we do, because this Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial is just, for the last 2 months, it's just permeated so much news. And there are a lot of people very upset about, the jury's position and saying, it's unreasonable and we should believe the woman at all costs and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not going to get involved with that particular trial, but it stirred up a lot of stuff for me personally. And so I'll share from vulnerability that I've been told only by women, because I am so open about sharing my experience about having had, being a survivor of domestic violence, that I've been told so many times by women, be careful who you tell that. Be careful who you tell that to. Like I shouldn't be public about it. And it really pisses me off because it's my past experience and the reason I share it. And it's like the reason I wanted to make sure to answer your question, Marla, is because whatever has happened to you, whoever has wronged you, that the shame of that experience actually belongs to the persons whose actions were out of integrity, right? Yeah. And so anybody who's hurt you, anybody who's taken action against you out of integrity, that shame belongs, those actions belong to that person, right? Not to you. And so this idea of forgiveness frees you. It's also about letting go of any shame, because a lot of times people don't want to speak about their experiences because they think putting words to it means they're going to be labeled with that shame. And I'm going to say it's the other way around. Actually, speaking of your experience frees you of the shame of that experience. It frees you from that, because ultimately, if you gambled on somebody, which we all do when we fall in love with somebody, right?
It's a risk. Love is always a risk.
Right? Yeah, when we give our heart to somebody, there's an inherent risk. And so we are, in a sense, gambling, but there's no shame in loving someone, right? There's no shame in loving someone. So forgiveness is the place you want to go. And remember that forgiveness has nothing to do with that other person. You don't ever have to speak with them or interact with them in any way, shape, or form. But you do have to step into forgiveness, because then you're disconnected from that event and it's no longer chains around your heart, so that you can not only love again, but you can trust again.
I always think that's the most powerful piece you say about that story, right? That idea that the shame of what happened doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the other person. And I think anytime someone finds themselves a victim of some kind of situation like this, that there is a part of you that like goes, well, how did this happen to me? Why did I end up here? What's wrong with me? Right? I made a bad decision. I chose badly. I should have known better. Right? All those inner voices that sort of beat ourselves up when somebody else is behaving badly, right? As if it's like we have this expectation of ourselves that if we go through life perfectly, right, and we never choose badly, we never, make mistakes, that other people will always treat us well. But I mean, that's kind of bullshit, right? I mean, other people are other people. Like Susan or somebody said before, right? You don't have any control. You can't control other people, right? There are people who just behave badly. It doesn't matter who you are or who you're being in the world. There are people who just behave badly, and whatever reason that is, whether you think they're inherently evil or whether they just had a shitty upbringing and so they have terrible strategies, or whether they're narcissists or manipulators, whatever the thing is, right? That those people are those people, and we should not take any responsibility for their behavior. You can't, right? You are not responsible for that person treating you that way. And so releasing that shame, releasing that part is going to help you not feel so stuck. Because I have a guess that that's part of the stuckness, right? Probably the other part of the stuckness is the fear that it would happen again, right? The fear of choosing wrong again, right? So you got to release yourself from that. And the way to do it, like Orna said, is really practice forgiveness. Forgiveness for self as much as forgiveness for the other person for their misdeeds, right?
Yeah. Forgive yourself for making the choice to risk with them. Forgive yourself for not knowing better. Forgive yourself, forgiveness for that younger version of you. We were talking a lot. Today's theme is about how do you know, right? How do you know? We talked about how you can't go by a feeling. You really can't, because feelings don't last. And you said something, we were talking about, are we on the same page? Somebody really gets you, and really evaluating somebody's capacity. And we've been doing this work for so long. I think it's so interesting because so many women we talk to,
Mhm.
they always say they want to be in a relationship with that where growth is something that they really value, right?
Right.
That growth is something they really value,
Yeah.
right? And so listen up here if you're like, yes, I want growth. And I think they mistake this idea because we hear all the time this, we hear that person, right? We haven't talked to somebody in a while. We bumped into them somewhere. This happened to Matthew and I years ago at the airport. We bumped into this guy we knew, and his wife wasn't with him. And he says, "Oh, we're divorced. Actually, we grew apart." Right? We hear that all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, we grew apart. As if gravity, pulled them apart.
The planets.
The planets, the stars, Mars, Jupiter, whatever, Mercury, something happened out there in the sky, and now they are not together anymore, right?
Yeah.
This idea of we grew apart. And so I think people say they want growth because I think they mistake the idea of growth with growing together.
Right.
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 And they mistake it because every single time that we, are working with a client, so many, particularly the women that we work with, are saying they want growth. The growth is a value. I'm very interested in personal growth. And
so what
I want to grow.
Right. So thinking about those times in your life when you've really grown a lot, right? I would guess, well, I'm not going to guess because I know that there was a lot of struggle during that time. There was a lot of painful experiences, right? I know for myself, once again, 20 years sober, that I made a lot of really bad decisions before I finally went, oof, boy, I'm tired of screwing things up, right? I'm tired of looking at my life and looking at the mess I've made, and I need to take responsibility for it, right? So it was the mess that prompted me to quote unquote grow. And knowing myself, I don't know if I would have really been that inspired to grow if I didn't have a mess.
Yeah.
And that's nothing against me. I think most people are that way.
Yeah, I mean, for addicts particularly, they are always talking about
Right.
You have to hit bottom before
Right.
you're willing to change, right?
Right.
It's a pain decision. The decision comes from pain.
Yes.
If you were comfortable, why would you change?
Exactly.
Right. And so
If things are going well, why would you do anything different?
we always caution a client who's looking for a relationship that has growth as one of its dynamics, because we're like, do you know what you're asking for? Right? Do you know what you're really asking for? Because you don't call them growing pains for nothing, right? I mean, you just don't. Right. So if every experience is happening for you, if every experience is an opportunity, if you want opportunities for growth in your romantic relationship, well, that means you're going to have a lot of challenges, because those challenges are what inspire you to grow. Right. So if you want to grow together and not apart, then you want to start looking at what else is important so that you can evaluate an ideal match. Because if you're just looking for that spark feeling that we talked about at the beginning, that's maybe supercharged, right? Sort of overwhelming and off balance. If you're looking for that and you want growth, oh my gosh, that's a recipe for more heartache.
Yeah.
It really is.
Orna was talking about that man we ran into at the airport who grew apart from his wife. And I think, I can't remember where we were at. We were at some event and there was a lot of other people who were similar to doing what we do. And this woman said, well, your soulmate relationship is one where it's easy. It's just easy between the two of you and you get along and there isn't really any conflict. And I thought, what is she talking about? Right? This is another human being here. Where is it going to be, where's there not going to be any conflict if you're not being authentic, right? And I think that's it, right? So many people are so afraid of conflict because they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to handle it. It feels overwhelming to them. And so they avoid it. And when you avoid conflict, you actually, you create disconnection between you and the person you're with, right? If you're not addressing your disagreements, if you're not addressing your hurts and your frustrations, then you're not able to ever create a deeper connection. I mean, Orna and we were madly in love when we fell in love, right? There was a lot of things that were quote unquote magical about it, right? But it wasn't magic that have kept us together all these years, or magic that allowed us to really grow into working together and spending 24/7 together and be able to get along and make that happen, right? More than just get along, right? It's because we're always willing, like we said before, we can talk about anything, but we don't have to talk about everything, right? And so we're constantly cleaning things up. We're constantly reconnecting. In fact, I have this nasty suspicion, right, that we have conflicts because part of us wants to reconnect,
Because
right?
we don't even realize we're disconnected.
Because we don't realize we're disconnected. And so it's like part of our subconscious creates the conflict, creates the disconnection
so that we can
so
come
that we
back.
can
Yes.
reconnect with each other, right?
And I want to say that, I think a lot of times people think, you've got to talk about everything and process it out. And it's not at all, but what we do is we make sure to repair, right? And when we repair, we're each taking responsibility for our own triggers. And it's really deep. The connection that we build on top of makes that initial feeling, like that feeling that everybody hopes lasts forever, this like falling in love sensation and all of that. When I look back to that time for us, it was magical, but it feels kind of shallow. It
Right.
feels, it doesn't have the depth that our love has now. It has a whole nother level to it. And so that's what we want you to understand, that you can create. You can have this, what we call long lasting, soul satisfying love. And if you're the person who thinks, oh, I've done this and that, and this person's program and that person's this, that, whatever, and it didn't work for you, or you came so far, but then it didn't take you to the goal, then maybe it's time to have a conversation with us, because really what we really pride ourselves on is taking people to the goal.
Yeah.
And that goalpost is really this idea of crafting and creating your true soul partnership after you've already done an internal inventory, right? Taking a look at your strategies for giving and receiving love, and looking at those limiting beliefs, and really crafting a true soul partnership that has to do with things that matter, not how much money he makes, or what kind of car he drives, or
Right.
what color his eyes are.
So I just want to say we're so grateful for all of you for showing up today. We're so grateful for those of you who were brave enough to ask questions. And if you had a question, but you didn't ask it, you can always email us at support@loveonpurpose.com. And we're just grateful for you, because without you, we'd just be talking to ourselves.
Yeah.
Right?
So thank you for being here for our love intervention. We will be back in 2 weeks on June 21st, same time, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern. And I just want to say thank you again for everybody joining us again. As Matthew said, if you're catching this on Facebook or on YouTube, please give a like, a comment, ring the bell, reaction, blah, blah, all that good stuff. Give us some good feedback. We'd love to hear from you. And we are here really to be your guides to that soul satisfying, long lasting love.